Hi everybody, welcome to Vijayasur Foundation. My name is Manoj Swaminathan and today we are going to learn about the role of an important stakeholder, and that is Regulatory Affairs Department in the pharmacovigilance activities. Very important stakeholder because you need their support for the proper functioning of the pharmacovigilance department. Let us learn about the roles and activities in detail. So first I will enumerate all of them and then we will learn about all of them in detail. First and foremost, it is about notification or the timely communication. Then it is about submissions to the regulatory agencies, of course. Then it is about the labeling and artwork support. Then it is about regulatory intelligence. And finally, it is about the product identification. So we will learn about each of these in detail. Let's start off with the notification. So what do you mean by notification? That is the timely communication, right? Something which has to be communicated to pharmacovigilance department on a real-time basis, right? So you cannot delay something. So what are these? These are about dossier submissions, where you plan to submit a dossier or a license application in a particular country. This is where the pharmacovigilance team needs to be aware, because the day you submit the dossier, from that day you need to undertake the literature monitoring. So that's why it is very important the pharmacovigilance team is notified. At times, you also need to submit some safety documents like risk management plans or PSURs along with the license application. So this is again one area where the team can support. Then the clinical studies. As a pharmaceutical company, they want to expand in various countries, and also they want the products to be registered everywhere. So that is why they would undertake bioequivalence studies. At times, even clinical trials may be conducted in various countries, and the regulatory affairs department plays an important role in notifying or say uh, communicating to the pharmacovigilance department. So every study has to be registered, and this registration activity is done by regulatory affairs. So that is why they will come to know and they need to inform the pharmacovigilance department. Third is about the new license. So new license application or new license approval. So anything like that, the team has to be notified. So if there is a new license which has been granted, from that day you need to start pharmacovigilance activities. You cannot delay. So that's why the pharmacovigilance team has to be notified on a real-time basis. So very important. Then when you have a new license approval, you can even have a license renewal, right? So what do you mean a renewal? Renewal is about the new life cycle of the product, right? So say initially the product was approved for 5 years. So after 5 years, you want to renew the license. Otherwise, it will lapse. So that is the license renewal, but it is conditional. You need to provide some safety data, some say clinical experts stating that okay, this product is good, benefits outweigh the risks, and then the product might get renewed. So license renewal is very important. Then it can even be cancellation or revocation of the license. Sometimes if the company doesn't commercialize the product in a particular time frame, the license may get cancelled. Sometimes the regulatory agency may cancel a license because they don't want that product in that country. That is a possibility. So that is also one area where the pharmacovigilance team has to be notified, because they would continue undertaking the pharmacovigilance activities, and if they don't know the product has been cancelled or the license has been cancelled, there will be a lot of efforts which will go in vain, right? So very important to notify the pharmacovigilance team. Then about inspection notification. Many times the regulatory agencies only interface with the regulatory affairs department. So they may communicate to the department that we would undertake a pharmacovigilance inspection on so and so dates. So this is where the regulatory affairs department has to promptly notify the pharmacovigilance department. So this is also very common. And finally, it's about any agency requests. The regulatory agency may ask for some documents, they may ask for a PSUR, they may ask for some justification, they may even ask for a risk management plan. So anything can happen. This is where the regulatory affairs department has to notify the pharmacovigilance department. So apart from this, there is one more notification, and that is about an adverse event report, that if the regulatory affairs department directly comes across any adverse event, they need to notify the pharmacovigilance team. So this is also very important. The next is about safety submissions. So when I say submissions, it is to the regulatory agency. You may need to submit an individual case safety report or an ICSR. So it may be in electronic manner or paper form. In some companies, these activities are performed by the regulatory affairs department, and while in other companies, the safety department has a gateway for electronic submissions. So that is where they would do it themselves. But if not, they would take support from the regulatory affairs department. Then there are something called as eCTD softwares, electronic common technical document softwares, where you need to save the document that has to be submitted, be it a risk management plan or an aggregate safety report. So once you do that, the entire package has to be submitted to the regulatory agency. So this activity is generally performed by the regulatory affairs department, but at times even the safety team would take over such activities. Then you also have something called as portals, regulatory submission portals in various regulatory agencies. This is also one place where the regulatory affairs department can support. Then you have the risk management plans, or the RMPs, or in US it is the REMS. So this is also one document which is submitted to the regulatory agencies, and again the regulatory affairs department can support. Then you have any say license renewal. Then you would require a clinical overview document or something like an addendum to clinical overview. So this document would say that the product license can be renewed, and the clinical expert would sign off that the benefits outweigh the risks, and no important safety report has been received. So everything is good. So this is again one area where the pharmacovigilance team will provide the report, and the regulatory affairs department would undertake the license renewal. Then, are there any other documents that can be submitted to the regulatory agencies? The answer is yes. So primarily the PSMF, the Pharmacovigilance System Master File, and you also have something called the SPS, that is the concise document. PSMFs are generally large documents, and you also have something called SPS, concise documents, which is more or less a summary of the PSMF. Even these may need to be submitted to the regulatory agencies. So again, this activity is done by the regulatory affairs department. Then comes the safety labeling. So this is also one area where the regulatory affairs department plays a very important role. They need to ensure that the right labels are being utilized, the latest ones, and also with the appropriate safety information. One example is that of paracetamol, that we need to include one safety line that talks about liver failure with excessive consumption or overdosage. So this is also one thing which has to be included in every product which has got paracetamol as a constituent. So this is one classic example. And also you need to have label. When you say labels, it is something which is applied on the product or which goes along with the product. You can have reference safety information or the package insert. Again, the regulatory affairs department plays a very important role out here. Then core safety labeling, something which we call as the global product label, CCDS, company core data sheet or company core safety information. So this is something where a company has a license in say 20 or 30 countries, and they have a different label in every country. So you would have one single harmonized label, which is the core safety information, where again the regulatory affairs department will play a very important role in coordinating this. Although the safety inputs will be provided by the pharmacovigilance department, but still the regulatory affairs department will play a very, very important role out here. Apart from this, safety variations. Why? Because you need to ensure that the label which is in the market is the latest one, right? So, say you added some adverse events to the product label, but you forgot to implement it, or you still have the old label in the market. So that can be hazardous, right? In terms of public health and patient safety. So what does this entail? This entails the warnings, precautions, contraindications, interactions, all are safety parameters. Whenever these change, you need to update the product label. Then it's about the adverse events, right? Any new adverse event, it has to be included in the product label. Then it's about the pregnancy and lactation, that all these years it was mentioned that the product is harmful for use during pregnancy and lactation, and suddenly you got some information that this product can henceforth be used for pregnant ladies, right? So this is again one area where you need to play a very you need to take care of such inclusions. Sometimes it can even be an exclusion, that all these years it was mentioned that the product is safe in lactating women or pregnant women, and suddenly you got some safety information that this should not be given, or this is now contraindicated during pregnancy. So again, you need to ensure that the label is promptly updated. Then finally, about special population, use in children, elderly, right? Or those patients with kidney problems, liver problems. So all those are very important, that all these years, if you say that the product label said that it can be safely used in people with kidney problems, or safely be used in children, and suddenly you come across safety information that the product should not be used in children, or should not be used in people with kidney failure or renal failure, then you need to promptly update the product label. So this is also one area where the regulatory affairs team will support. Okay. Then artwork management. So what do you mean by artwork? So this is something which is all about designs, and also the way the product looks, and also the sometimes even related to the product labeling, right? So this is also one area where you need to ensure that the safety parameters are included appropriately, right? So the classic example of paracetamol and liver problems. So the artwork team would ensure that all the text are included in the artwork, right? So this is also one area. Generally, artwork is under regulatory affairs. So in some countries or companies, it may be a separate department. Okay. Then regulatory intelligence. The pharmacovigilance requirements are dynamic. Okay. Every regulatory agency comes up with new requirements, probably every year or once in 2 or 3 years. And sometimes you don't have any published regulations, and suddenly some country would come up with some published regulations. So the pharmacovigilance team has to be kept notified. So this is one area where the regulatory affairs department or the regulatory intelligence department can support by providing the latest or the updated pharmacovigilance regulations. So in some companies, they prefer to outsource such activities, or it can even be the pharmacovigilance team that does this activity. But this is generally called the regulatory intelligence activity, and generally performed by the regulatory affairs department. Then finally, it is about Article 57 database, or IDMP. So this is about identification of medicinal products. So something many countries are now coming up with such regulations, where they need all the information about the product, including that which was submitted in the dossier, then also the indications, the various formulations, strengths, everything. So this is one activity which has always been controversial, that pharmacovigilance team saying that this is the activity of regulatory affairs and vice versa. So this keeps happening, but at the end of the day, if this is not done, then the pharmacovigilance inspection may suffer. So that's why you should always remember that these activities are performed diligently and efficiently. So this is about identification of medicinal products. So that was, I think, the last of the responsibilities of the Regulatory Affairs Department. So something more about IDMP, so wherein it includes information about medicinal product name, clinical particulars, then the pharmaceutical product information, the manufacturer. So all this information is generally included, uh, and it's quite obvious that it's not the responsibility of the pharmacovigilance department, right? Except for the four grade areas on the top, which is undesirable effects, indications, interactions, therapeutic indication that may be related, but I think rest all activities have to be done by the regulatory affairs department, or the coordination has to be done by them. So I trust you would uh, have learned something new about the regulatory affairs activities, right? And again, there are very important stakeholders when it comes to patient safety and pharmacovigilance, and the proper functioning of regulatory affairs department is very essential for the pharmacovigilance activities. Okay, we need real-time notifications and so on. I trust you found this video to be useful and interesting. Feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions, comments, or even suggestions. Thank you.